Today I'm looking at the Festool track saw, the TS55 REQ. This Festool saw is basically a circular saw, but it's really a track saw because it works best when paired with the tracks from Festool. Now today I'm going to go ahead and show you all the awesome features found on this amazing track saw, but first let me tell you about why you want a track saw. The previous version of this track saw, the Festool TS55, was the first Festool product I ever purchased, and it definitely performed and exceeded my expectations in the shop. Now this track saw can work in a variety of applications, but there are two things that mainly I use it for. I build furniture in my workshop and I'm a one-man shop, and so the two things that I purchased this for, one is for breaking down sheet goods. Since it's just myself here in the shop, I like to take the tool to the work to those large 4x8 sheets rather than running them over a table saw. The second thing where I really found this very useful is breaking down 8/4 pieces of hardwood, live edge boards, putting a straight edge onto those boards before taking them to other tools in my shop. Again, usually they're large slabs of wood, and so taking the tool to that work really works out well for me. So let me go ahead and show you all the features and functionality on this new version, the TS55 REQ, which takes everything from the old one and adds some new features and functionality, making it just a little bit easier to use. The first thing I want to show you is setting it up onto a track, because that's primarily how I use this saw, running it right along the track to make nice straight cuts. Now when it first comes from the factory, you need to set it up on your rail and get it nice and tight so that it'll be smooth running, but it won't wobble. So here are some knobs, and you'll notice that I can move this on the track. It's wobbling a little bit, so you just want to tighten down this green knob here at the front and get rid of that play. Gone from the front. Now let me go ahead and do the back one. There's a green knob here right behind the motor. Again, some play, so I just tighten this to remove that play. But also, now there's no play, but it still slides very smoothly. What we're doing here is on the bottom, you can see where the rail is riding right in here, and we're just rotating this cam to get it nice and tight but not pinching, so you won't get any play, and now you're set up on your rail. Let's look at setting the depth of cut, which is right here, this green knob. You simply press in with your thumb and adjust how deep you want to make a cut. That stop here is going to stop the blade from going out further. And simply put, the blade is retracted in the housing here, and when I press down, obviously that blade is protruding, and it protrudes a certain depth that is set up here by our depth stop. Now what's cool about this depth stop is it has with and without the guide rail. The guide rail obviously adds a little bit of thickness, and so this one here on the left is without the guide rail, how deep the blade is going to protrude, and here on the right is how deep it'll protrude when it's sitting on the guide rail. In addition, there's a micro adjust right here, this little knob, and you can dial that knob in or out, and again, that knob is what's going to stop hit as you come down. It's going to hit and stop right on that knob. So you've got also a micro adjust feature to dial it in exactly where you need for certain cuts. The depth gauge is metric, as with all Festool products, but the REQ does come with a handy sticker that is imperial that you can use instead. Two buttons at the back here on the handle. This one here allows you to plunge the saw. It won't move down until I release that. Now I can plunge. And of course the trigger here turns the saw off and on. We've got our saw on the track and we've set our depth. Let's go ahead and talk about how to make an angled cut here. Now this saw can do not only up to 45 degrees where there's a stop, but you can even go beyond 45 to 47 degrees, and you can undercut at -1 degree, which is really cool. So on this saw here, to make an angled cut, you've got a knob here at the front and one at the back. So you go ahead and release the knob at the front, release the knob at the back, and that allows you to set an angle. There's a handy gauge here along the front, really easy to read, big numbers with an arrow there, and you can dial it in where you want, and then just go ahead, lock down your front knob, lock down the back knob, and now you're set to go making that angled cut. Now, if you want to go beyond the 45-degree stop, there is a green button here at the back, and you simply pull that out, and now you can go beyond 45 all the way to 47. Again, lock it down, you're good to go. The same thing to get to -1, the stop is at 0. Again, you pull out this knob right here at the back, pull it out, and now you can tilt the saw to -1. Again, lock it down and make your cut. Now let me show you one of my favorite features of the TS55, which is getting 0 tear out cuts on both sides of your cut. Here at the front is a small window where you can really see what's happening when your blade is coming out and you're cutting along your line. Here's the blade, and there you can see through this little sight window. What you can do is pop the sight window, goes up and down, and that definitely helps with dust collection, so dust doesn't come spitting out here. You want it to be right along where you're making a cut. But you can also remove this totally and put in the splinter guard, and this is what is going to allow us to make cuts with no tear out on this side. So you just lock that in. Again, you want to adjust it so it's sitting right on your workpiece. Now, the first time you go ahead and use this splinter guard, which is a consumable, the blade is going to cut it. So here underneath, you can see the blade is hitting my splinter guard right there at the front. And so the first time that I go ahead and turn on the saw, it's going to cut through that plastic, essentially making a 0 clearance insert, which you're familiar with on your table saw. 0 clearance insert means that the wood that you're cutting is going to be supported right next to the spinning blade, meaning you won't get any tear out. And while we're here on the side, let me show you that as you protrude the blade, the riving knife here at the back, which is an awesome safety feature found on this track saw, comes out before the blade, and this will help you align a series of cut if you need to move your rail to continue a very long straight cut, longer than your rail. Then you can use that to help align the track saw and get it right into that cut and continue that cut. Changing blades on the TS55 is really easy. Simply grab this fast fix here at the top, pull that up, and then go ahead and plunge the saw down, and it's going to auto lock. You heard it click, and now it's locked in place where I can grab the supplied Allen wrench stored here on the front, and the blade is locked. Put it in there, and you can go ahead and quickly undo the screw here that holds the blade in. Take that out along with your washer, and the blade simply slides out. You can grab a different blade, pop it right in. You can see how fast and easy that is. Festool sells a variety of different blades. They're color coded for the type of material that they're for. I can tell you one thing, I do a lot of ripping that I mentioned earlier, and I would definitely recommend getting a ripping blade if you're going to cut some 8/4 hardwood. That will quickly dull a non-ripping blade. So definitely use the right blade for the job. It's going to save those blades, making them much more effective when they're sharp and last a lot longer before sharpening them. On the back of the saw is the dust chute connected to an even more efficient dust shroud. You definitely want to be connecting your shop vac or dust collector to that. And of course, a plug-it socket for powering the saw, and a dial for speed control. And the manual talks about different speeds for different materials. So there's a quick look at the main features and functionalities on the Festool TS55 REQ. For even more information, go to highlandwoodworking.com or festoolusa.com to find out even more of the specs and other uses for this saw. What I absolutely love about this saw is how fast and easy and efficient it is to use. I'll go ahead and mark where I want to make a cut, put my track right on that cut. I know I'm going to get a splinter-free final cut. There's going to be no dust left in my shop for cleanup. I can put the tool away and move on to the next part of my project.